Okay, so recent episode of NXT TV, or NXTNA for the cool kids, Roxanne Perez in the ring with the one and only CM Punk talked about how much of a big fan that she was of his work, and then dropped the fact that she was more of a fan of his wife, AJ Lee. So, of course, since that happened, I mean, I'm the person who has the ability to just take two pictures and throw them into an Excel sheet and give you my thoughts if they were to, get into a scrap. As always, if you disagree, that's what the comment section is for. If you want to see other fights, comment section is there. Also, like and dislike button. All right, so here we go. This is going to be one of the weird times where AJ Lee is taller. So Roxanne Perez is built at 5'1", AJ Lee is built at 5'2". So if you don't know who AJ Lee is, and she pretty much tried to do her best during the end of the Divas era to actually bring actual wrestling back to the women's division. Um, she was a fantastic in-ring performer, predominantly more or less known for what she could do for her character work. So, put up against Roxanne Perez, current two-time NXT Women's World Champion, as well as she's won functionally everything that they've done in NXT. So, we'll get right into this. Strength. As you can tell from the two pictures, neither one of these women are absolutely massive and jacked. But just given the fact there's a bit of a size advantage, and Roxanne Perez is not normally known for having a mass strength advantage, I would actually give this one to AJ Lee. Again, these first couple ones, there's always points of contention. So I definitely give her the edge with that. When it comes to speed, I'll give it to AJ Lee again with this one. Probably because back when AJ was wrestling, she was pretty much one of the faster competitors. Being significantly smaller than a lot of the other wrestlers, she pretty much had to rely almost entirely on her speed. Endurance, yeah, I'll give this one to Roxanne. AJ Lee wasn't blessed with the ability to have very long matches in the WWE. I mean, I think there was a long stretch in time where like the women's matches at WrestleMania were like under 8 minutes long for almost a decade, which is just crazy to think of nowadays. So she was never given the ability to have super long matches. There really weren't women's Royal Rumbles back then, so she didn't get to have the ability to show that she could be an Iron Woman. Same thing with toughness. Again, I'm looking at what they have for their WWE / main roster uh, careers. Roxanne Perez has had pretty vicious falls count anywhere matches where AJ Lee was during the time of Santa's Little Helpers, 24 Divas tag matches where they didn't really do much but hit each other with pillows and candy canes. Striking. I did go back and look at some of the movesets of AJ Lee. And for her time, lots of drop kicks, lots of good kicks. But the way things are now in the WWE, Roxanne Perez is able to do elbow strikes. She's able to do knees. She's able to throw in a lot more additional moves, which makes it a much more dynamic in-ring style. Not saying that AJ Lee during her time on the Indies wasn't doing this sort of stuff. Just not something we really saw very often from the WWE perspective. Grappling. Also going to give this one to Roxanne. A lot of that is because, again, it's evolution of the sport. Whether you're looking at Pop Rocks, her version of like a Code Red, there's a lot more things that she's allowed to do. She also very much is a student of the game when it comes to a grappling and suplex perspective. Not something that we really saw a lot of from AJ Lee, even though I do think she would have a strength advantage in this, predominantly because of her overall size advantage. AJ Lee wasn't one who was known for suplexes or body slams. What she was predominantly more known for was lots of her submission work. If you go back and look through a lot of her matches, big fan of, I believe she was using the octopus hold at the time. And she was able to apply this on opponents who were prone, opponents who were standing. She did a very good job when it came to doing almost like a head scissors, but instead of doing the takedown and going into the octopus. She threw that move in all over the place. And when she was part of the feud with Daniel Bryan and all that, she also did the occasional variation of cattle mutilation. So very, very much known for her ability to kind of ground her opponents. High flying, again, I could see this going either way. Both of them are known for high cross bodies, missile drop kicks. But I'm going to give the edge here to Roxanne. I think that's more of being able to do a longer match. We're seeing her do more dives to the outside. Would AJ Lee do those? Yes. She get to do them very often? No. So I definitely do think that from that aspect, I think Roxanne has got to do more of those more often. And is probably a little bit more skilled, and that's just more of the evolution of what she's allowed to do in the ring as opposed to when AJ Lee was around. Over with the crowd. If AJ Lee's music were to hit now and she were to come skipping down to the ring, the crowd would absolutely lose their minds. I still think that this would be an amazing, if she wants to do it. I mean, she's doing a bunch of other things now for mental health, which is fantastic. If they could get her to just come back and do a short bit in like a rumble spot, just enough to kind of be like, hey, you had this amazing career at the time when women were relegated to, hey, how's the line looking at the bathroom style matches? Which, if you go back and watch women's wrestling back then, you're kind of like, oh, I can understand why nobody cared. Which was sad because you had some fantastic workers who were just never given the opportunity to really, really shine. And AJ Lee very much broke that mold and was able to do lots of fantastic things inside the ring. Not as much from a competitor standpoint, but definitely someone from more of a character perspective. You gave her a mic, she was going to run that ring. Ring psychology. Same thing. I think that what AJ was able to do, it was more of, well, don't do punch, don't do kicks, do more, hair drags, do these sorts of moves. She very much knew how to go, okay, if I can't do the moves, if I can make the moves mean something, and I can string that together, and I actually can work as much of a narrative as I can into this match. And even when she was doing the stuff with Kane, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, she came down to the ring and she maximized the non-physical minutes that she was given, and she was fantastic at that. And last but not least, mic work. Being that AJ Lee wasn't given her due when it came to actually being able to wrestle, Vince McMahon actually did like the character work that she did. She was the GM of Raw for a while, which was amazing. Not to say that Roxanne Perez is not solid on the mic. Her babyface stuff was, you very much can tell that she's a wrestler first and a sports entertainer second. Roxanne Perez's current heel run, it had some hiccups here and there. I think she's finally gotten into a nice groove where she's coming up a lot more believable. But I do think in a match of this sort of caliber, I mean, again, with the first two, strength and speed, you can easily debate those. You're looking at two people who are of very similar size, very similar build. I think that from the in-ring work, this would be amazing. And I think AJ Lee would do a fantastic job of really elevating Roxanne Perez to a different level when it comes to character work and doing some of these small little things here and there. Roxanne Perez, incredibly technically proficient. I think that as she gets more years under her belt, she'll become an absolutely incredible professional wrestler in the WWE. Or she goes someplace else. I think that we're just now starting to see where her floor is. Amazing to see where her ceiling is. And when it came to AJ Lee had so much potential. And she was mashed as high as she possibly could be against that glass ceiling. Who knows, if she would have come along a few years later, who knows the sort of amazing matches she could have had with the Four Horsewomen.